I'm a Winnipeg boy, that's who I am. I'm a Winnipeg boy, that's who I am.
If you take a look at a map of North America and place your finger in the middle, you'll land in Winnipeg, Canada. This isn't just another stop on the road, it's the city where I grew up. At its heart is the confluence of the Red and Assiniboine Rivers, in an area known as the Forks. In today's episode, I started here with a walk through the lively market area, along with a visit to the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. I'll also stop by the Manitoba Legislature and a few other spots before heading west, continuing my journey across Canada. This is the area known as the Forks, which has a few buildings, and we're going to go to the first one here, which is the Forks Market. I actually came here last night with some family, and the food here was really good. I had some fish and chips, 10 out of 10. I think it was the best fish and chips I ever had in my life. It was really delicious there. The Forks Market opened in 1989, following a major redevelopment of this historic site at a cost of roughly $30 million. But long before the market existed, this land was a gathering place for Indigenous peoples for thousands of years. Later, it became an important site for European trade and settlement. Today, the Forks Market is one of Winnipeg's most popular destinations, home to shops, restaurants, and events, and still, in many ways, a place where the city comes together. There's an elevator here that will take us to the top.
Well, that's why I opened the door, because they're open.
As a tourist, it's one of those tourist things you should do if you come to Winnipeg. 10 out of 10. Come to the Forks just to walk around, try the foods. It's a good vibe here. So this here we see the Assiniboine River, which starts all the way in Saskatchewan, I believe. And it enters the Red River here. So this is why we call the area the Forks. And here we have another boat. I think this is one of the water taxis. This Riverwalk area is quite nice right now. I know throughout the year, particularly in the spring, the water levels can be significantly higher at times, and at times this whole area is flooded by the river. So it's nice to be able to walk along the banks right now. And this is the Red River, which flows north, and across the river it used to be a separate municipality of Saint Boniface, which is a French-speaking area of the city. And now it's a part of the city as well, but it's the heart of the French culture within the city of Winnipeg. And there's a really interesting church over there. So we're entering the site of the former Saint Boniface Cathedral, which was completed in 1908. And at its time, it was the largest cathedral in Western Canada. Incredible. So in 1968, the cathedral there, it burned down in a fire. There's no conclusive idea of what caused the fire, whether it was arson or just mistakes, so that's still an unknown. But at a time, it would have been a magnificent cathedral, and look at the size of it, wow. There's a cemetery here in front of it as well. Grave sites here have some pretty important people. Interesting collection of tombstones here, dating back to the 1800s. And here we have the resting place of Louis Riel. Louis Riel was a Métis leader who fought for the rights of his people and played a key role in the creation of Manitoba. His controversial actions led to his execution by the Canadian government, but his struggle continues to raise important questions about justice and human rights to this day. And across from the cathedral, we have a walkway that leads us down to the Red River. Just earlier I was across the river there, and there's the forks where I was walking just a bit earlier today. The Human Rights Museum and then the downtown core as well. So this is the Canadian Human Rights Museum. It's one of maybe the only federal museum located outside of the Ottawa Hull area. It was completed in 2014 at a cost of $350 million. More than half of the money was raised from both the national, provincial, and municipal governments. A big percentage of the funds raised for the building of this museum was done through the private sector as well. And that was spearheaded by a man named Israel Asper, or Izzy Asper. Izzy Asper was a local media magnate here in Winnipeg, and he amassed quite a fortune in his days. And his legacy can be seen in several different spots around Winnipeg, with the crowning jewel being this place here. Let's take a look inside. Now, Izzy originally wanted to make the museum just a Holocaust museum. That was the original vision for the place. But afterwards, they decided to make it more of a human rights museum, where it would comprise different elements of human rights from around the world, with the portion dedicated to the Holocaust only covering about 10 to 20% of the museum itself. My first time here, so I'm interested to see how it's going to turn out. So this is the entrance to the museum. Apparently we walk up the museum through various levels up towards the top, and it starts at the bottom level with some more darker stories of human rights, and as we ascend to the top, it ends on a more positive note.
We separately when we have the same God.
Zoroaster, the Buddha, Confucius, Jesus. Can't show Muhammad's picture. Locke, a lot of philosophers. Karl Marx, interesting. Louis Riel, Gandhi, Roosevelt. Interesting list they chose to represent who has been fighting for the idea of human rights across time. And some of those I definitely agree with. Some of those I have my quarrels, but yeah, nice, great entrance to the museum off the bat. It's a very nice place. This room has a lot of interesting little booths. Exhibit here about Viola Desmond, whose grave I visited in Halifax.
When demonstrators attacked a streetcar driven by strikebreakers, the military and the special police charged the crowd.
You should look up Che's quotes on certain groups of people. Some interesting things there. Okay, that's like the first main level floor, and it's quite interesting. Some interesting things to read. And this museum is quite fascinating to walk through. A nice way to spend a bit of your day in this museum here with some really interesting exhibits. And for me, I do not agree with all of them. I do have my differences of opinion, but other ones I find quite fascinating, and I'm learning some things too. And I'm not going to try to get too political, but we'll see how it goes. Which books were they burning? I wonder if there's a bit of a sensitivity given that founder of this museum, Izzy Asper, is no longer alive, but his family, they played a big role in the foundation of this museum. But they obviously have ties to the Jewish faith and also the state of Israel too. So I wonder how they would cover something like that. Kind of curious. But here we're getting closer to the top, and I think I'm going to see a pretty good view from up here. Okay, so here we have the Tower of Hope, which is named the Israel Asper Tower of Hope. And we could take the elevator, or we could go up the stairs. The view up here is pretty awesome. We could see the main Union train station here in the city. And this is taking me some getting used to in Canada, where you have gender inclusive washrooms. Alright, nice little day at the museum there. I'm gonna give that one a good solid 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a must do if you come to the city. It's a nice experience in there. I enjoyed quite a bit of it. The gender inclusive bathrooms, and I just see there's a limit for me when it comes to human rights, where it's like, okay, I respect people, but then like how far do we go with human rights, where it gets to the levels of absurdity. I think just men and women should just have different bathrooms. I've already visited the Manitoba Provincial Legislature once. However, it was in the nighttime. So we're going to go back in the day, or late evening. But we'll see it with some light. And we're back at Canada's most impressive and my favorite provincial legislature, taking the #1 spot in the 7 provinces I've visited in Canada. What a grand building, wow. And the inside, you could say, is even more interesting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to plan to get a tour of the inside of the building. I've just been so busy in this Winnipeg part of my trip because, unlike the other cities where I didn't know anybody, this city and this province, I know a lot of people, a lot of family members. So that's taken my priority on this part of my trip instead of filming. Hope you understand that. I'm gonna walk around the grounds one more time and check out some more of these statues. There's an interesting one that is in the park across the legislature over here that I would like to see. So here is a statue to Sir William S. Stephenson, the man called Intrepid. It has been said that the James Bond character in film and literature is kind of loosely based off of this man, who was born and grew up here in Winnipeg, Canada. Now, just as I leave here, right in front of me there was one more statue that was located here, but it's not here anymore. In July of 2021, a statue of Queen Elizabeth II was pulled down directly in front of the Manitoba Legislative Building. This crowd-fueled madness occurred during protests tied to the now false claim that mass graves had been found beneath residential schools in Western Canada. Claims that were treated as established fact by governments, media, and institutions, despite the absence of physical evidence. The statue was torn down in public, in broad daylight, and the entire event was clearly captured on video. The individuals involved were visible and identifiable, yet despite that, no arrests were made. Winnipeg police later said they chose not to pursue charges for public safety reasons, but the outcome was simple: a public monument on the grounds of the provincial legislature was destroyed, and no one was held accountable. My disappointment isn't about defending the statue, it's about the rule of law. When authorities refuse to enforce the law because an act is politically fashionable or emotionally charged, they send a dangerous message. The laws are conditional, and enforcement is selective. I love you, Winnipeg, but your leadership dropped the ball on this one. And when the law becomes optional, trust in institutions doesn't erode slowly, it collapses. And we're on Higgins and Maple, so this is a pretty shady area of the city. It's dilapidated, and beautiful firehouse here though, beautiful firehouse. And my mother's home, childhood home. It used to be beautiful, and then the neighborhood went to hell, and it's the last residential structure. This is the worst I've seen in Canada in terms of like tents and homeless people. Wow. My hometown is taking the lead in a bad way. Dicey area to walk around too, I would say. I would just be careful in this end. Interesting people walking around here at night. Here's another shot of Winnipeg's most famous intersection. One of the most famous intersections in all of Canada, I would say. And one thing about Port-Ingermain that's interesting is this year, for the first time in decades, they put up a public crosswalk. I'm going to do that right now. Ooh, wow. I'm very fortunate.